Raiden from Mortal Kombat. There's different realms in Mortal Kombat. There's certain dimensions like Outworld, for example, where he's heavily suppressed compared to other realms. Stated here in the lore that in Outworld his powers are compromised. So if I bring this up in the video talking about his feats in the outer world, just know he's able to perform those feats while heavily suppressed. Like even in the old timeline stuff, they talk about when Outworld and Earthworld emerge, Raiden finds himself battling Shao Kahn without the assistance of the Elder Gods. It shows his limits here when it comes to Outworld involvement type stuff. It says the Thunder God must transform into a mortal in order to exist in the combined realms. I guess the same thing applies for Netherrealm. So I guess that could explain the times where you see Raiden struggle against beings he shouldn't struggle against. For a long time, we knew him as the protector of Earthrealm. He's a deity, can blast with lightning. As you can see, he looks dangerous. But how strong is he? You had the older games, of course, which was an older timeline. Then one could say you got the newer timeline. I decided to go over them in this video since they're all still technically video game versions of him. And since he exists outside the normal laws of time, when there's like time travel shenanigans, you can't really have an older Raiden and young Raiden in the same room. Johnny Cage's young self, old self in the same room. This can't happen with Raiden, apparently, because he exists outside the normal laws of time. That's because he's an immortal and he exists outside the normal laws of time. Time affects him differently. Let's get into it. How strong is he? There's a lot of ways somebody can be considered strong. Raiden is one of the beings, he's pretty much strong in every way you can think of. Like, you got occasions like this, for example, you can see the electricity around his fist when a Raiden actually decides to amp up his punches. His punching power is really hard. In combat, this is crucial. Same with the fact he can kick really hard, but then he has the standard blast, so he doesn't need his strength. He can just blast you with lightning. Or one could say he can put lightning around his fist to amplify his own punches or something. One could say he can even form his lightning into different shapes in possible futures where he became like a tyrant, basically. Like he made like his own lightning lightsaber blade to slice up beings if he wished. As you can see the way it looks. Like, Raiden seems to have like a theme with amulets. Even when a rebooted timeline, when he's not a deity, the writers still find a way to give Raiden lightning ability. In this new game, they explain it like this. He got his lightning ability from this amulet given to him by Liu Kang, forged by the Elder Gods. It gives aware power over lightning and thunder. So even though he's technically not a deity no more, he can still do lightning type projective stuff even in this reboot. The amulet is to level the playing field against beings that actually have elemental type of magical ability. Like the people they were fighting had all kinds of weird stuff. So yeah, this amulet actually leveled the playing field. In the new game's lore, of course, rebooted Raiden, not the normal Raiden that we're used to, you know, fresh start Raiden. So he has blast power, or can just punch you with his fist if he wants to. He's obviously a martial arts fighter. On top of that, he has crazy super strength, just like everybody pretty much in Mortal Kombat. He can put electricity around his hands. One can imply that he can enhance his strikes with electric type of blast. Like there's plenty of cases of him blasting beings. Implied he had teleportation, like using it in combat to evade a being to get the jump on you. I mean, he is a being that can control lightning, so it would make sense in his lore that he can move as fast as lightning when it comes to his fighting speed or just movement in general. I mean, he can teleport. I would have thought this teleportation was only a game mechanic, but we see him do it in gameplay and cutscene type stuff. I mean, heck, one of Raiden's signature moves is him blitzing towards you saying gibberish. It doesn't matter. Teleportation seems to be a constant thing Raiden can do. It's the way the animators animate him. They make it seem like he's like a literal streak of lightning, then materializes it as solid. It's hard to kill somebody like Raiden for good because due to him being an immortal, he would just kind of resurrect. They will reform on Earthrealm. Can apparently harness the invisible power of wind. Raiden helps Johnny Cage restore his deceased soul somehow. Implied that Raiden knows unholy enchantments. Stated how he placed the corpse of Liu Kang on this altar. Reciting the unholy enchantments, it brought to life the body of a former ally. He resurrected Liu Kang like a zombie, basically. Not an ordinary one, though. The being known as Jax was battle damaged here. You see Raiden heal him right up. He has healing. When Johnny Cage was stabbed that bad and was bleeding out, here comes Raiden to the rescue, healing him right up. Yep, and he's able to talk. Was somehow able to send a message to his past self through time, so this possible dark future won't actually happen, so they can prevent what's about to come. That's where he saw them strange visions. It was really himself sending himself a message. Told you earlier, time travel shenanigans. Stated here that his future self sent him messages to ensure a better outcome. Yep. Raiden's one of them characters that can use all types of weapons, whether it's a hammer or a staff. It seems that he can just summon it out of the blue to hit you with it. And apparently this staff is a great source of fighting power. It would honestly be nice to see Fire God Liu Kang use the staff that Raiden used to always use. Knows jujitsu and plenty of other styles. Apparently 750 to be exact. We've seen his blast power used in different scenarios. like blasting Quan Chi in this example, and he's not afraid to block attacks with his lightning too. Even barriers made of skulls, he can eventually blast through with his blast power and blast him with it. There's moments like this where you can see him blast, and he could technically blast a human's head off with his electricity blast power, one could say. Despite his power being weaker in the nether realm, he still has the strength to occupy the undead armies, in MK11. This is a realm where he's technically weakened, but he's still able to pretty much occupy this whole army by himself. Of course, he has this geared amulet that Shinnok used to have, showing his blast power to straight up incinerate different entities. Like I mentioned earlier, how he's making blades of lightning to slice beings up like literal swords. And Shinnok, Elder God level beings, we've seen him blast. When it comes to his destructive blast power in this particular situation, when he did a suicide destructive blast type of thing, it actually destroyed the entire temple they was in. All this destruction is thanks to Raiden. As a bare minimum, we know he can blast castles or temples apart. He can delete with his blast power if he really needed to. I mean, when you see Raiden do casual stuff like flying through thick bridges with his either blast or just drilling power strikes with momentum, it just kind of adds up with the lore. It's pretty obvious that they can destroy temples in their base states. For example, he was able to destroy several floors of this temple, for example, when he was torturing Shinnok, for example, with his lightning blast. It was going through multiple floors to reach the bottom. You can see the floors destroyed, the lightning is drilling through, electrocuting Shinnok. Speaking of Shinnok, since Mortal Kombat doesn't have the most flashy looking feats when it comes to the main cast, we can all make an agreement that him fighting Shinnok is definitely consistent with the lore. Even back in the older games, one can say the older timeline. It was stated in the Mortal Kombat Mythology's official website, by the way. Like, the feat is kind of vague, but it was kind of stated that when Raiden and Shinnok fought, they almost caused the planet's near destruction, plunging into centuries of darkness. This is very vague. We don't know if he almost caused the planet's destruction from one punch, from a day of fighting, 2 days of fighting. It's really hard to say when we don't know the complete context or how much time went by when he did this.
Thousands of years ago, in a battle with the fallen elder god known as Shinnok, I was responsible for the death of an entire civilization. I waged a war that plunged the earth into centuries of darkness and banished Shinnok into a place called the Netherrealm.
A battle between Raiden and Shinnok. It's really unknown on what this could be taken like. Did their battle in one blast have enough power to tremble an island or a city with their attacks? Do you think their clash can almost or tremble an entire country with their attacks? Or do you think they literally meant have enough power to threaten the earth or tremble the earth itself? What do you think? This is really contentious. It's really hard to understand the context of it. The clearness of this feat is lacking. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think he can devastate the planet itself or wipe out multiple continents or at least tremble multiple continents on planet Earth with his one blast or two blasts or something? It's really up for interpretation when you try to understand these beings' full limits. I mean, then you got occasions in the newer games where you see him and Shinnok like this, to where his blast and punching or slicing power is able to behead Shinnok. Couldn't really kill him though. Had his head on a platter like this. So it kind of implies that their rivalry, they got a little rivalry going on. Even if this version of Raiden is tyrannical. Battling Shinnok and having his head on a platter in the possible future says a lot about Raiden, because Elder Gods lack screen time, but they're held in high regard to where Raiden, he gets counsel from these powerful beings. And Raiden battling Shinnok is impressive because Shinnok is like a fallen Elder God. Some of the Elder Gods have insane powers, even though them actually landing the fatalities on the characters isn't canon themselves. Their superpowers they do in the fatalities is actually canon. And if we was to take the feat of, Cetrion, one of the Elder Gods, seriously, this can kind of give you an idea of Shinnok's power, because she's also an Elder God that Raiden goes to for counsel and stuff of that such, and we get to see her actually fight and grow super large to the point where she grows bigger than cities, even continents, even close to the size of the planet. And you know how much somebody would have to weigh to be this big. This can kind of give a perspective of how strong these beings are. Even though Elder Gods lack screen time, are they trying to say Shinnok and the other Elder Gods can do similar stuff like this when it comes to the over-the-top power they can produce? I mean, imagine getting punched by somebody that's the size of a continent. The punches have to be hard just because of the mass and weight. This would kind of make that feat of Raiden and Shinnok almost causing the whole planet to go extinct or causing major damage to the planet make more sense when you see stuff like this happen in fatalities and super moves of her abilities being able to grow this big. But it's one of the things we never got to see in cutscenes or on screen. Do you think Raiden can fight a being like Cetrion at full power if it came to push and to shove? And if she was to grow this big, you think he would still be able to compete with her with just punches and blasts and stuff? And the fact that she can produce planet-size or continent-size blasts? Is this the true power of Elder Gods? Very vague, but it's a possibility. What do you think? I think it's a possibility. It's in the realm of possibility that Raiden could have the raw power output if he just went ham to fight an Elder God in an epic cutscene. If the animators actually wanted this animated, they could tremble the planet with their clashes based on the old lore of them being able to put the Earth in jeopardy from their clash, Raiden and the Elder God. It's just hard to imagine because Mortal Kombat writers be having like the gods weakened conveniently and fighting against mortals consistently. And then when he fights against mortals, they be struggling and then they're conveniently weakened because of a temporal Armageddon, like Citron herself was struggling against mortals because of a temporal Armageddon because she was an elder god. The elder gods were getting weakened. Stuff like this is the reason why mortals can battle him. So stuff like this is probably what makes it confusing for people to be like, oh my goodness, they can't really fight them. It's a possibility they can do this kind of stuff. I want to hear what you guys think, though. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Do you guys think Raiden can tremble the entire planet or at least multiple cities? You think he can at least blow away a city? Should be able to at least do that at least, right? Tremble multiple continents, destroy one country, at least a small country. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of ways you can take it. It's even stated here, him in his battle with Shao Kahn, these two powerful beings fought until the very core of the earth is shaken, and Raiden emerges victorious. Did Raiden do this with his punches, kicks, blasts? Narration implied two godly beings fighting, so it seems like this should be taken literal about them shaking the planet, or blast you to where you turn into ash, or just make them legitly explode. Remember how I already said it's implied their punches are crazy, like punching people apart? Like, yeah, it makes sense. He even gave hands to Revenant Liu Kang to show how strong Raiden is using his speed and fighting skills in combat. Along with another deity like Fujin, we see Raiden use his staff to impale some entities while also working together with Fujin. So yeah, he still uses this staff. These energy projectile skulls go through things' chest like this from Quan Chi. It's natural that Raiden, whatever he can dish out, his body can withstand because when he gets blasted with similar stuff like this, he was able to keep on fighting. You remember how earlier I brought up how his powers were compromised on certain realms? Despite him being weakened like this, he's still able to blast with enough power to take out a group of cyborgs with his blast to show that he still has some decent blast power even when his powers are compromised. You see them trying to gang up on him. He uses martial arts. He can put his lightning through his kicks or strikes and then blast them like this. A whole bunch of insects he just incinerates even while weakened in Outworld. Baraka gets shocked through his arms like this still, even while suppressed in Outworld. You can see Raiden blasting and affecting being like Shao Kahn. Raiden and Shao Kahn have fought in the past. Might I add, fought him in the past without the assistance of the Elder Gods when he was technically weakened. To the very core of the earth is shaken, apparently. We see Raiden blasting it with a wide aerial effect, taking out multiple entities. Then using his literal lightning blades, his own swords basically, to shock anybody that comes near him. Big aerial effect type of blast. Blasting and causing this much damage to the whole area, and blasting you if you try to blitz. And you see this being handling Liu Kang and Kung Lao, freezing them on the spot. When this powerful being pulled up on Raiden, this being that's basically immortal, Raiden had his little issues with him. He got caught off guard by his power for a little bit, but eventually Raiden got the advantage over said being, even though he can't really be killed. He basically put him in a scenario where he will basically fall forever because drowning him can't kill him. Raiden said, oh, okay, this sea of blood is bottomless. This dude's going to fall forever. What a way to win. Okay, so there was this Liu Kang. There was two different versions of Liu Kang, by the way, an evil one and a good one. One of the Liu Kangs stole his own soul. Raiden even noticed that it increased his power. Despite this power increase, Raiden is still mighty enough to challenge this version of Liu Kang, even after being kicked this hard. And Raiden still got the advantage over this version of Liu Kang, showing how powerful Raiden is. But what if I told you there's a Raiden that's called Titan Raiden somewhere in the multiverse? Yeah, there's a multiverse. Let me explain that in 2 seconds. Basically, there's a version of Raiden out there in the multiverse that's a Titan that's above all the Elder Gods. So all this time in this video, I've been talking about how Raiden is a demigod or just a normal deity in lower rank than an Elder God. But what if I told you there's a Raiden out there that actually surpassed her anyway? So in a way, all that planet size stuff or over the topness stuff, this should technically apply for Titan Raiden because Titan Raiden is definitely above an Elder God like Citron, who can apparently grow planet size. You see what I mean? But yeah, to explain what I'm talking about really, there was this battle for Chronicles Hourglass that ripped apart time's fabric where everybody knows there was originally one timeline. Of course, the timeline itself kept changing. At the very core of it, there was only one singular timeline. Even if it kept getting rewritten, there was still technically one timeline. But this changed, and now there are many, which is why there's a Titan Raiden that exists out there in the multiverse. That's on the level of Titan Liu Kang. You see what I'm saying? There's like a whole bunch of Titan tiers, beings that are above Elder God tiers, if that makes sense. Different timeline, different universes, all existing at the same time. Multiverse. Like they explain here, in his timeline, he became Timeskeeper. In this one, Katana became it, and so on throughout different characters. They even talk about others could be Jade, Sindel, Kano. The possibilities are endless. It's really hard to pinpoint how many timelines timelines are out there, but there's implication that it's a big multiverse out there if it's this many Titan tiers. Yeah, that's a lot of different characters from all different timelines. That's funny. They're fighting Shang Tsung. There's actually a good Shang Tsung helping out their army. A couple good ones. Like, even stated he got a victory over Kronika, a being that's ranked higher than Elder Gods. So, about me comparing Raiden to Cetrion, well, just know that this version of Raiden is literally above her because he beat Kronika in his timeline. One could say this Titan Raiden can do anything the Raiden I've shown you in this video do, but better. Or with way more power. Do you respect them? I sure hope so. But before I get going, I gotta say thanks for the donations, everybody. Helps out a lot. Respect, Raiden. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.